You ever do the right thing and wonder if it even mattered? Like when you forgave someone who didn't deserve it, gave when your own knees were screaming, or kept praying even when it felt like God went silent. If that hits close, this is for you. You didn't do it to impress anyone. You weren't chasing applause. You just believed somewhere deep that God saw you, even in the dark. And I'm here to tell you, He did. Heaven saw everything. That small act you thought was nothing? It stirred the spirit. It made God smile. You didn't need to part the sea. You didn't preach to thousands. You simply obeyed when no one else would have. And that obedience, raw and quiet, meant more to heaven than you could imagine. Think of a parent watching their child take that first shaky step. They don't criticize the wobble. They celebrate the courage. That's what your obedience looked like to God. Imperfect, yes, but full of trust. And trust is what moves Him. So hear me, chosen one. What you did in private, God is about to honor in public. You weren't after recognition, but heaven is recognizing you anyway. Don't downplay what you did. Don't silence the weight of your yes. This is your confirmation. He saw you. He marked you, and the reward is closer than it looks. You've been wondering why it's been so quiet, why you keep showing up in prayer but nothing seems to shift, why you pour your heart out and heaven feels still. Let me tell you something real. God's silence is never absence. Sometimes the quiet is where the deepest work happens. You've been in a hidden season, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being prepared. See, when a seed is planted, it's buried in darkness before it ever breaks through. That's where you've been, buried, pressed, and stretched, but not abandoned. Chosen one, what you walked through would have broken most people. The fact that you're still here, still believing, still fighting to stay soft in a world that hardens hearts, that says more than 1,000 sermons. God didn't overlook you. He was watching to see if your faith was rooted or just convenient. And you proved something powerful. You showed Him you don't just love Him when it's easy. You trust Him when it's quiet. You believe when there's no spotlight. And that kind of trust, it's rare. It moves heaven. It activates favor. So don't let the silence fool you. There's a shift coming. The ground is about to break. What you planted in tears, you're about to reap in clarity. This isn't punishment. This is positioning. You're not behind. You're being hidden for impact. And when God says it's time, nothing can stop what He's about to release over your life. Let's be real. Waiting on God can feel brutal. You pray, you fast, you stay faithful, and still nothing. Doors stay closed. Answers feel delayed. And people around you start to question your faith, or worse, you start to question it yourself. But hear me, delay is not denial. Sometimes God pauses the outcome to build the foundation. You're not just waiting for a blessing. God is preparing you to carry it. He's been stretching your capacity, testing your posture, refining your motives. And even when you didn't feel Him, He was working. Every no, every silence, every closed door is protection. Every detour was rerouting you toward destiny. You're not forgotten. You're being equipped. And here's the part no one talks about. Sometimes your greatest growth happens while you feel the most stuck. It's in the dark, lonely, confusing places that roots go deep. And the deeper the root, the higher the fruit. That's why you haven't seen breakthrough yet. God is building something in you that can survive what He's about to give you. Chosen one, don't mistake stillness for failure. Don't confuse silence with punishment. You are in the middle of a holy setup. What feels like nothing happening is actually everything shifting. Heaven hasn't been quiet because God forgot you. Heaven's been preparing the stage for your reveal. And when that curtain lifts, everything will make sense. So breathe. Stay faithful. Stay grounded. Because what's coming won't just bless you, it'll bless everyone watching your life. Let's talk about the part of your story no one else sees. The days when you showed up while feeling empty, the nights when your pillow caught the tears no one knew about, the moments when you almost gave up but chose obedience anyway. That kind of faith, it doesn't make headlines. It doesn't trend, but it moves heaven. See, God doesn't just look at what you do in public. He weighs what you do in private. And when you chose to keep trusting, even when it felt pointless, He noticed. You didn't just survive. You worshiped with a broken heart. You didn't just hold on. You held on with no proof the promise was coming. That's rare, and heaven counts it as precious. Most people praise God when things are good. You praised Him when everything was falling apart. You didn't fake strength. You clung to grace. And that posture, raw, honest, surrendered, that's the soil where breakthrough grows. Chosen one, the weight you've been carrying has not gone unnoticed. Every silent prayer, every act of forgiveness, every time you chose to walk away from what your flesh wanted, it has been recorded. God isn't just seeing your pain. He's preparing your reward. And when it comes, it won't match what you lost. It'll surpass it. This next season isn't about recovery. It's about redemption. And the glory on the other side of this will be greater than anything that tried to break you. You probably wondered, why me? Why do you carry burdens others seem to escape? Why do you feel things deeper, fight battles harder, walk through fires longer? The answer isn't punishment, it's purpose. You've been trusted with weight because heaven sees what's in you. God doesn't hand out heavy assignments to shallow hearts. He saw your depth. He saw your yes before you even said it. And because of that, you were marked, set apart, chosen. That's why your journey hasn't looked like everyone else's. While others were coasting, you were climbing. While others were celebrated, you were hidden. But being hidden wasn't rejection, it was protection. God was building you in secret so He could reveal you in power. And the pain you've walked through wasn't wasted. Every tear watered the ground beneath your feet. Every loss made room for something greater. You weren't being punished, you were being planted. And now the roots are deep, the soil is rich, and the time is near. What's about to grow out of your life will blow your mind. Chosen one, don't resent the wait. Don't curse the process. God's been writing a story in you that couldn't be told in comfort. It had to be written in fire. And because you didn't quit, because you stayed, because you trusted when it made no sense, now comes the shift. What once felt like a burden will soon be revealed as glory. What broke you will now bless you. And everything you went through is about to make perfect, undeniable sense. You didn't ask for the warfare, but you were born for it. That ache in your spirit, the resistance you keep facing, the spiritual heaviness you can't always explain, it's not random. It's because you're a threat. The enemy sees what's on your life, even when you don't. That's why the attacks have felt personal. That's why the pressure has been nonstop. The enemy isn't after your stuff. He's after your voice, your call, your influence. Because if you ever fully realize who you are, hell loses ground. Chosen one, this is not the time to shrink back. This is when you stand up, not in your own strength, but in the authority God has already placed on your life. You've been surviving, but now it's time to walk in power. You've been defending yourself, now you shift to taking territory. You've been reacting, now it's time to declare. Speak what God has shown you, even if it hasn't manifested yet. Praise even when the storm hasn't passed. Pray even when your voice trembles. That's how you push back. That's how you take back what was stolen. You're not weak, you're dangerous. And the resistance you feel isn't a sign that you're failing. It's confirmation that you carry something holy. So armor up. Stay alert. And remember this, God didn't bring you this far just to protect you. He brought you here to position you. And the moment you stop questioning your identity is the moment the enemy starts losing his grip. You've been carrying dreams that scare you, visions that feel too big, assignments that feel way beyond your qualifications. And yet, deep down, something in you knows you were made for this. Not because you're perfect, but because you're called. See, when God chooses someone, He doesn't look for the most polished, the most popular, or the most prepared. He looks for the heart that's willing. And that's what He found in you. Willingness. Even in fear, even in doubt, you said yes. And that yes is why heaven has been backing you even when people didn't. It's why doors opened that no resume could explain. Why favor found you in rooms you never asked to be in. Because when you're chosen, you don't need validation from man. You carry authority from God. Chosen one, stop waiting to feel ready. God doesn't anoint the qualified. He qualifies the anointed. And you've been anointed for something that's bigger than your comfort zone. That pressure you feel, it's not punishment. It's stretching. You're expanding into your assignment. And yes, it feels overwhelming, but that's because God is calling you into a space where only faith can carry you. So walk forward even if your knees shake. Speak even if your voice cracks. Move even if the map isn't clear, because your obedience is building the road as you walk it. And on the other side of your risk is someone else's breakthrough. You've been misunderstood by people who didn't see the full picture, by those who misjudge your silence, your boundaries, your growth. And I know it hurt. Not just the words, but the fact that you were trying to do right and still ended up being seen wrong. But chosen one, let me remind you, God sees differently. He looks past image and reputation and straight into the heart. And he saw yours, bruised but loyal, tired but still surrendered. That's why he kept you even when people walked away. That's why he kept speaking to you even when others stopped listening. Rejection didn't disqualify you. It refined you. It stripped away the noise so you could hear him clearer. The pain didn't define you, it shaped you. You don't have to fight to prove yourself. You don't need to defend your name. Let God handle what you can't explain. What's coming will speak louder than any rumor, louder than any lie. And when God vindicates, he does it in a way no one can deny. So hold your peace. Keep your posture. Stay aligned with who he says you are. Because everything that came against you was really sent to build you. And though it didn't feel like it, the betrayal became the blessing. The disappointment became the doorway. You didn't lose favor, you gained clarity. And now, everything they thought would break you is becoming the platform God will use to raise you. You've been walking with a quiet strength, holding things together while no one knew what it was costing you. People saw your smile but didn't see the fight behind it. They saw your calm, not the chaos you had to pray through. And that's okay, because God saw all of it. He saw every silent battle, every late night tear, every time you encourage others while secretly needing encouragement yourself. That's the kind of strength heaven honors. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the faithful kind. The kind that keeps showing up even when you don't feel strong. Chosen one, you didn't fake it, you carried it. You didn't fold under pressure, you leaned into grace. And heaven took notice. That's why there's a shift in the atmosphere around you. Something is breaking, something is moving. Because God never overlooks faithfulness. What you did behind the scenes is now drawing a response from heaven. And not just peace, not just comfort, but reward. You're stepping into a season where the strength you sowed in secret will start to bloom in public. You didn't just hold on, you planted. And now the ground is ready to give back what you thought was lost. So lift your head. Shake off the shame. God isn't just going to restore you. He's going to establish you. He's not just going to heal what hurt. He's going to use it. Everything you walked through is now turning into evidence, proof that even in silence, even in struggle, you were never alone. There comes a moment when you realize survival isn't the goal anymore. Wholeness is. You've been through so much that at one point, just making it through the day felt like victory. And that was valid. But now, God is calling you higher. Not just to endure, but to overcome. Not just to breathe, but to live. Chosen one, the days of barely getting by are ending. You didn't walk through all that pain just to settle in pieces. God is not in the business of partial healing. He restores completely. And what the enemy tried to use to fracture you, God is using to fortify you. The very thing that tried to shatter you is becoming your strength. You're stepping into a season where emotional survival turns into emotional strength. Where spiritual drought becomes spiritual overflow. Where the same voice that used to tremble now speaks with clarity and fire. Because healing isn't just about feeling better, it's about seeing clearer. And now you're seeing it, who you are, who he is, and why the battle was so fierce. You were never weak. You were always a threat. That's why the warfare was personal. But now the wilderness is behind you. The fog is lifting. You're not who you were when this started. You're wiser, you're stronger, and you're ready not to go back but to rise. So take this moment in. You survived, yes, but now by the grace of God you're about to thrive. There's a weight to being chosen that few talk about. Everyone sees the favor, but they don't see the fire you walked through to carry it. They admire the anointing but don't understand the isolation that came with it. Chosen one, you've had to let go of people who couldn't come with you. You've had to outgrow places that no longer match your calling. And that kind of pruning, it hurts. But it's necessary, because elevation always requires separation. And what God is preparing you for can't be built on unstable ground. That's why he's been removing, shifting, refining, not to punish you, but to position you. You weren't being left behind. You were being set apart. You weren't being overlooked. You were being preserved. Because what's on your life is weighty, and it requires space, focus, and surrender. So if you felt lonely, misunderstood, or even forgotten, take heart. God hasn't forgotten you. He's been carving out room for the magnitude of your assignment. What feels like loss is actually alignment. What felt like silence was sacred shaping. And now, the season of hiding is lifting. The season of revealing is near. God is about to make public what he's been doing in private. And when it happens, it won't just bless you, it'll confirm everything you knew deep down but couldn't prove. That you were never random, never abandoned, just carefully, intentionally, fearfully chosen. Some of the greatest moves of God begin in silence, not with fanfare, not with crowds, but with a single surrendered heart whispering, "Here I am, chosen one." You've been that heart, quiet, available, faithful. While others chase spotlight, you chase his presence. While others build platforms, you build an altar, and heaven noticed. Because God doesn't measure impact by followers or fame. He measures it by obedience. And you obeyed in secret, with tears, with trembling, and still you stayed. That's why the atmosphere around you is shifting, because obedience always invites glory. What you're about to walk into isn't random, it's a response. A response to years of trusting God in the dark. A response to your yes when you had every reason to say no. This is harvest season for the heart that didn't quit. And no, you won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. The doors God opens can't be manipulated, only stewarded. So stay steady, stay soft, stay surrendered. Because what's coming wasn't born from ambition, it was birthed in the secret place. And when it arrives, it won't just elevate you, it'll confirm that intimacy with God is still the highest calling. You weren't overlooked. You were being cultivated. And now comes the fruit of every hidden seed. This is the part where it all comes full circle, where what was broken gets rebuilt, where what felt wasted reveals its worth. Chosen one, you didn't come this far to stay hidden. You didn't endure the fire just to return to normal. You were forged for something more. Every silent prayer, every private surrender, every moment you kept walking when you had every reason to stop, it mattered. And now, heaven is putting a spotlight on what was formed in the dark. Not to glorify you, but to glorify the one who sustains you. This is what redemption looks like, not perfection, but purpose born from pain. The same tears that fell in secret are now watering a harvest no one can deny. And yes, people will ask how you got here. They'll wonder how you made it through. And all you have to say is God, because it was never about strength, it was about surrender. Never about being seen, it was about being sealed. And now that the refining is complete, the revealing begins. So lift your head, chosen one. Stand in what you've been shaped for. This is the season where the evidence shows up, where the silence turns to celebration, where the thing you almost gave up on becomes the very thing that sets you apart. You didn't just survive the crushing, you became oil. You didn't just endure the wilderness, you became a voice. And now all of heaven is echoing one truth over your life. Well done. You were faithful, you are ready, you are chosen.